10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And we are live. Good evening, Chaplain. How are you?
I'm doing very well this afternoon. How are you doing over there tonight? It's nighttime over where you are, yes?
Yes, it's nighttime here in South Africa. I'm doing so well, thank you. We had rain for days on end, actually some flooding, and today is the first day that we had some sunshine. So I'm smiling. I love the sunshine.
Yes, it is wonderful. Sunshine is amazing. Sunshine is amazing. Well, I'm happy to say that not that you've asked, but to let the audience know that my former computer, started slowing down, and on Saturday, I, by the grace of God, I went to Best Buy in East Lansing, and we're working tonight on a brand new computer. Yay! So there should be no glitches. My goodness, no cutting off, no hesitations. We're just going to do our best to do our best.
Absolutely. No frustrations. I know technology is phenomenal, but sometimes it lets us down. So I'm so glad to hear that frustration at least has ended with the computer, because I mean, if we have to be online, it's difficult when the computers are giving these hiccups. I also
Tell the truth. Tell the truth. And the guy said to me that now they're designed to last for about 5 years because
good.
the technology
Yeah.
is moving so fast.
Wow.
So he said, we'd be happy to fix your computer, but understand that your computer is 5 years behind in updates.
I hear you.
That makes a lot of sense to me. They're making the computers like they used to make the automobiles, right?
Yeah.
As soon as you get them paid for, they start
Exactly.
acting up.
That used to be the email. Absolutely. Now, Chaplain, thank you so much for bringing, being here this evening, taking the time to be with us, and
Thank
just
you.
your love and your experience here. It's so beautiful when I see people that have been through it, people that have learned the lessons, that want to equip and teach others. And that's you want to learn, you want to teach what you've learned. So
Yes.
Navy. Let's talk Navy. I want to hear about the Navy, and some of the lessons that you've learned there. I have many friends in the Navy, and I always ask them, I always pick their brains about what happens in the Navy. What lessons did you learn? So I'm going to ask you that same question this evening.
Well, let's go back to 1983 when a person that I'm still in touch with infrequently, but walked into Harvard University School of Divinity, and he was in his working whites. And immediately when I saw him, my eyes just latched onto him. And as he came closer to me en route to where he was going, I stopped him and I said, "Excuse me, sir, could you please tell me about what you are wearing, what it means, and where I can get one?" That shows you how naive I was. I thought maybe I could just go down the street, go over to the mall and purchase me one of those uniforms, right? So he said, "Well, go over to the recruit command, and they'll tell you all about it." As soon as my last class was over with, I went the same day and got all of the information that I needed and started the process. And I guess, let's see, that was 83. So I didn't go to boot camp. Yes, officers have boot camp also. I didn't go to boot camp until 84.
Oh.
And I'm telling you, because it took all that time, to get the paperwork done. A lot of paperwork, swearing in, background check, the everything that they did in the 80s. And when I had passed everything, they called me and said, "Come and we'll swear you in, and you are to report to New Hampshire." It'll come to me, the base up in New Hampshire, for 8 weeks. It was 8 weeks then. 8 weeks of basic training. And I tell you, it was amazing. It was amazing. The first thing that I learned, which was very difficult, was that for the first 2 weeks, which is still the same today, for the first 2 weeks, no mail in, no mail out, no phone calls in, no phone calls out. So for those 2 weeks, I had no idea what was going on with the love of my life, what was going on with my family, what was going on at the seminary, nothing. So the first thing that I learned was that there are times when you are out of touch with people, and a lot of times when I am fasting, even still, I will spend that entire day off the network, off
Yes.
television, off the telephone, just completely disconnect from. So that was the first lesson. That was my first lesson.
Wow.
The second lesson I learned was when you are on time, you are late. When you
Oh,
are,
yeah.
yeah, remember me telling you that? And when you are ahead of time, you are on time.
Uh,
Learned that the hard way. We had an inspection one morning, and my roomie was faster than I was, because see, I went in kind of late. I mean, late meaning it seems to me it was my late 30s or early 40s when I went in, and other folks were like, my roommate couldn't have been a day over 25, but it seemed to me. So she got hers done, and I tell you, the inspector came and flopped the quarter on her bed, and she passed, and flopped the quarter on my bed, and mine didn't pass. Stripped my bed. Said, "Do it again." Okay, well, we do it again. This time I did it the way my mom taught me how to make up a bed. Okay, so popped that quarter, and it bounced. I said, "Okay." And I was 1 minute late from a
Oh,
1
no.
minute. And I'm telling you, that commanding officer got in my face, nose to nose. And I started to tear up. He said, "You never cry in uniform. Never. I don't care what's going on in your life. You do not cry in uniform. Dry it up."
Yeah.
And you don't chew gum when you're in your uniform either. So I dried it up, and he dressed me down in front of the whole troops, all of my fellow sailors, the class. I was in class, I think I was in Alpha class. But anyway, that was lesson number 2.
Yeah.
And then lesson number 3 really has to do with perseverance, because it is really quite taxing to go through boot camp. Yeah, we had to wear the duffel bags that were full,
Yeah.
and all of our supplies, and I remember one day they drove us, which was very unusual when they would drive us to some kind of of an exercise, and I can't say but so much about it. But even now, but they drove us something like 10 miles outside of town. It
You
said,
drove back.
"Okay, you've got to find your way back to the base." Well,
Yeah.
I thought that meant get back in the truck. No, chaps, you gotta walk
With the duffel bag.
with your duffel bag, and they only gave you so much time. They only gave you so much time, honey. By the time I got back to my quarters, I said, "Hell with this! I'm going home." But you can't do that either. So
I love it. Yeah.
perseverance is really extremely important. You've got to have your mind made up that this is exactly what you're going to do. This is what you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I had one other situation where I said, I don't know, Lord. I don't know. We had to jump off a tower into a pool. Still have to do that. And I must have stood at the top of that tower a good 5 minutes, and Gunny kept saying, "You got to jump. You got to jump." And I said, "Lord, is there anybody up there with a different answer?" I remember saying that out loud. And Gunny took my hand. He said, "I tell you what, I'll jump with you." I said,
Oh,
"Okay."
that's wonderful.
Well, you haven't heard the rest of the story.
Ah,
I can
I
laugh about it
can't
now. He said, "Okay, you ready?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm ready." He said, "Don't say sir to me. I say ma'am to you. I work for a living." I said, "And chaplains don't?" No, I didn't say that, but I thought that. So anyway, he said, "Okay, let's count 1, 2, 3, and then we'll jump." And so 1, 2, 3. Honey, when I got down to that pool, Gunny wasn't nowhere to be found.
He pushed you.
He had slipped very smoothly, slipped my hand out of his.
Yeah.
And so I jumped alone. But and I must have passed out uh on the way down, because I can remember when I hit the water that my bathing suit came off. And wasn't that a sight for sore eyes? I'm trying to stay afloat and snap my bathing suit back on.
Well, that was a good lesson.
That was a good lesson. Number one,
Yeah.
keep your eyes open and keep your bathing suit snapped. It's but those were some amazing days when I look back on them. As a matter of fact, I keep a picture. I keep a picture of my class nearby me all the time. I don't know if you can see this or not. Yeah, there
Yes,
we go.
yes.
Yep, there we are. And
Oh,
uh, that was I'm in the front row,
I see
frowning a
you.
little bit, and I
Wow.
didn't have my hands down by my side. It was hot out there that day.
Yeah.
Newport. No, it wasn't Newport, Rhode Island. It'll come to me though. It will come to me. It will come to me. And also had an opportunity to go into the tube, what they call the tube. That's the short name for it.
What's that?
The submarine. The submarine. Had an
Oh,
opportunity to tour a submarine. I tell you, it takes a very, very, very special person
yeah.
to handle those submarines.
Vessels. Yeah.
Yeah, can you imagine being under, what is it, about 5,000 feet of water
Oh, if no.
for months?
Oh,
upon months.
I trust
You
my
know,
phobia. I take my
because they
husband to the gym.
packaged with everything you could ever need. You know, they like any cruise ship. You know, it has your where you eat and plenty of food and where you rest and where you work and so I was that was exciting. That was
Mm,
exciting. I was glad to get out of it. I don't like close places. Even now I don't like close places.
yeah.
So it was that was the summer slash well yeah summer because we got back just in time for classes, just in time for classes to resume in 1984. And I was actually what they call augmented, meaning
Right.
actually brought in
Yeah.
after graduating, which was in 1985. And my first deployment was Newport News, not Newport News, Virginia, but Portsmouth, the
Yeah.
Portsmouth, Virginia hospital. And that's where I had my first experience with us on the what they called the AIDS ward, even before they knew what AIDS really was and how
Mm,
devastating it was.
yeah.
Uh, and I knew then that I had made the right choice. Number one, I loved working in the hospital, and
Mm,
number two, I loved. I wasn't really disobeying the order, but an order. But I thought that because we were required to put our the robe on and our mask and our gloves I went to visit with this one sailor
yeah. Mm,
and I took my mask down and my gloves off,
yeah.
and I held him because he was so he was pitiful, quite honest. He was skin and bones, and I can still see him today. And I took him in my arms and I said, It's going to be okay."
Yeah.
And he said, "You are the first human touch I've had since I've been in the hospital."
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And I prayed about it. You know, I didn't consider myself being reckless. I
No.
considered myself being compassionate.
Mm,
And as I often say, I had a praying mother, and I knew she was praying for my sensibilities and my protection, and I was praying for my sensibilities and my protection also. And so I never contracted any sign of HIV/AIDS, but many years thereafter,
mm,
I I have I have adopted HIV/AIDS. Well, sailors, soldiers,
yeah.
Air Force folk. It doesn't matter because what I want them to experience is the love of God and the compassion
Mm,
of a minister, because
yeah.
that's really what we are. They call us chaplains, but we are really providing a ministry.
Yes.
And some of my fellow chaplains choose to be officers first,
Yeah.
and I suppose there's nothing wrong with that. It just seemed to me that that it was important to show compassion, to give leeway.
Yeah.
Maybe I gave more leeway than I should, but I know that I was an agent of healing. I was willing to listen to all of the sailors when I was on active duty, and it wasn't long before the word got out throughout the area that there was a chaplain on board that was radically inclusive and did not hold one's gender identity uh, in support of or against them. If they were there to talk, well, okay, let's talk. And some of them would talk about their same gender loving partners at home, crying the blues because they're separated And I would recommend, if there was a Fellowship of Affirming Ministries church in their city, I would recommend them to go to the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries, which is a radically inclusive ministry, not only in terms of one's identity, but also in terms of one's faith. Uh,
Mm.
I suspect we even have atheists in what we call TFAM, the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries. But that is not the bishop's point. The bishop's issue or concern or model or example is one of Christ. You know, she believes in Jesus and justice, and she teaches us to believe in Jesus and justice. So the lessons I learned once I graduated, and uh, the lesson I learned at Portsmouth Hospital, Naval Hospital, was to be compassionate, was to be open.
Mm.
Had the opportunity to baptize a baby that didn't make it, which was probably one of my saddest experiences.
Good.
Um, and have delivered the flag on behalf of the President of the United States, um, more often than I even think about, let alone talk about. Uh, One of the other messages that I learned early on, because when we go to deliver the message that a family member has been killed in action, for example,
Yeah.
they usually send Marines with us. And
Yeah.
I remember this one place that we went that day, and this guy comes out with a shotgun in his hand.
Mm.
He said, I know why you're here, and I'm not going to accept it, and you're going to get off my property.
Oh my goodness.
And so the Marines, talked him down, talked some sense into him.
Yeah.
And he said, but that's my only child. And I know what you're here to tell me.
That's
Uh,
heavy.
that was that was eye opening, and even now, as we do our grief and bereavement work, uh, we never know how
Mm.
a person is going to respond. Uh, uh, Even in the civilian world, and maybe more so in the civilian world, because see, in the military, you're taught to keep your emotions in check.
Yeah.
This is not about your emotions. You've got a job to do, and you're going
Same
to.
in the church. Yeah. If you're a minister, it's the same thing.
Yes. So
Yeah.
that was one of my eye openers. And I was so grateful to have those Marines, because they're there to protect the chaplain, and they do a doggone good job. And so that was another lesson that I learned. Do not presume or assume how
Mm-hmm.
this is going to go down.
Yeah.
But learn, and one of the greatest lessons that I learned is to listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I went to the hospital or the infirmary to visit on bases, I went with a listening ear, because sometimes people don't want you to say anything. Uh,
Just
they
want
just need
you.
somebody to talk to, right? And I also learned to follow the cues, how to enter the room, asking permission to enter the room. And in some cases, they did not want to see a chaplain.
Mm.
Um, in which case, I would of course leave a card and would let the sailor know, if you change your mind, this is where you can reach me.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I learned that I would probably go out of my way to never go to jail. I did not like visiting the brig. That's what they call the jail on the campus.
Yeah.
Because I can still hear that door close behind me, and knowing there's no getting out unless somebody lets you out.
Oh, wow. That's frightening. Ah.
I learned too
Mm.
that being a chaplain is a calling.
Oh,
Now,
yes.
now some of my fellow chaplains saw it as a job. I never saw it as a job.
Mm.
I saw it as a calling to draw men and women to Christ,
Yeah.
not to badger them, but to introduce to them
Yeah.
a life that is unbelievable, a life where love is constant, a
Mm.
life where you can have peace of mind and joy of heart 24/7, a life where you can make your request known to God and leave it and
Yeah.
let God work it out. Of course, in cooperation with the person that's praying. And the biggest thing is, if God is going to help you with this, you've got to give it to God and let it go.
Yeah.
And you notice things are changing. And what I can say at this age is, what a mighty God, what a mighty wise God, what a majestic God, that we really do serve, that really does have our back, really does have our best interest in mind. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing opportunity to serve the Lord with gladness. Uh,
Beautiful.
it's like this situation that I discussed with you earlier, and my sister asked me to pray about it because we need prayer power. We
Always.
need God. We need God to help us figure out, well, after all of these years, why now?
Mm.
Why this person?
Yeah.
Why my book?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear ya. I hear ya. But you're
Uh,
gonna
and,
get
and
to
and it's
it.
been a challenge
Yeah.
since 3 weeks before we showed up in New Jersey, and it just for the book launch, and it just seemed it was one thing after another, and here we are uh,
It's a
al-
month.
almost 2 months. The first week in March, it'll be 2 months,
Yeah. My
and
goodness,
we're
time flies.
still having challenges. So I'm at peace with it. I'm at rest with it.
Technology. Yeah.
Yes, because see, I
Technology.
know when it breaks through, it
Yeah.
is going to be unstoppable.
I love it. I love it, Chaplain. Yeah, technology, as I said before, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it brings its frustrations. But as we come to the end of this session, I mean, next time we want to talk about another topic. I can't believe that a half an hour has flown by. I love
Oh
your
my
story.
goodness. It
I can't wait to be back here with your next one. And I believe we have that on Wednesday. Which day
Yes,
did we?
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am.
I can't wait to hear more Navy stories. Would you like to end with any final words in a minute or
Well, of
less?
course, I would like to thank you, Reverend Juanita. I thank you for sharing with me your gift, your talent, your suggestions, your ideas, your prayers. That is so amazing and wonderful of you, for God to allow me to be with a praying woman is means more to me than words can describe. So I thank you. I thank you for your what you call your daily affirmations. I need those affirmations as right now in particular, so that I can stay in what you call that good place. And I'm doing okay. Now, I had a little slip last week, and I said, on when I when I shared I shared someplace in an article that my incredible coach recognized that I was not in a good place. She offered a word of prayer a different time and said good night.
Well, that's exactly what I did, and it worked, didn't it?
Yes, 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 yes. And I appreciate that. I
Oh,
really, really do. And I also want to say thank you to the Reverend
yeah.
the Reverend Lila Martin, pastor of Trinity, uh, 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 Trinity Methodist Church. I almost said Trinity United Church of Christ, but it's a Trinity AME Church here in Lansing. The background is their veterans board of acknowledging the veterans in their congregation. And even though you can't see me, I'm back. I think I'm back behind you, Sister Juanita. So I certainly want to say those two things. And last but not least, I want to thank God. It
Amen.
has taken me many years. This is an answer to prayer from years ago,
Hallelujah.
to work with praying people. That's so very important. So I thank God for answering that prayer. I thank Jesus Christ for dying on the cross for us. And I thank the Holy Spirit, whom I call wisdom, for the comfort and bringing back to memory the words that need to be spoken at the time that they need to be spoken. So
Amen. Amen to that. Thank you, Chaplain. I love it. I love spending time with you. And yes, we stay in prayer. We trust the Lord and thank Him. We are grateful together. And to the audience, thank you for joining us. We will see you on Wednesday with more stories from the Navy by Chaplain PJ Anderson. See you soon. Bye.